The buck stops here when it comes to supersizing and growing your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. I like pulling on money. The buck stops here. Thank you, Harry S. Truman, for having this motto in the Oval Office when you were president. He had a sign that behind his desk, I don't know if it was behind his desk, I just made that up. He had a sign in the Oval Office that said the buck stops here, because he had the philosophy that when it came to making decisions and having to make those hard decisions, the responsibility was ultimately his as the leader of the #1 country in the world, right? I still believe America is the #1 country in the world, despite who is leading or not leading our country. So this idiom, of course, means to take responsibility for something. It came from the game of poker, where passing the buck was a common phrase, and it meant to shirk responsibility and not take responsibility for things. Thus, the metaphorical, idiomatic meaning of the buck stops here. Hey, this is where the responsibility lies. And my dad had this same philosophy. I don't know if he had a sign above his desk, but he definitely had a sweatshirt that said the buck stops here on it that he wore for years. It was a gray sweatshirt, and we used to laugh because we looked back at pictures when he passed away, and we saw all these times he had that sweatshirt on at different events in our life and as a family. And so it was really funny because my mom, it was one of those t-shirts or sweatshirts that people tend to keep and love. I've got stuff that I've had for decades because I just love it. I think it's kind of human nature. We get an affinity to certain clothing and we wear it over and over and over again. And that was one of his favorites. And I loved the motto on it, but we came to think, oh my God, is he going to really wear that sweatshirt again? So it was his responsibility to decide what he wanted to wear, though, right? It wasn't up to us to choose or decide what was best for him. So how does this apply to building and growing and supersizing our business? We all know people who shirk responsibility or don't take responsibility or assess blame or pretend that they don't know something or do all kinds of other things to not be accountable and responsible for their actions or the actions of the people in their organization. And the problem with that is if you're not in control and responsible and accountable for things, that means you don't have really control over them. Now, do we have control over other people's actions all the time? Yes and no. It depends how we lead them in our business. If we want to supersize and grow our business, one of the best things that we can do is lead in by example and take responsibility and accountability, and then hold other people accountable to their actions and their mistakes, right? Everybody gets to make mistakes. We're human. We all make mistakes. But we also are responsible for learning from those mistakes and correcting those errors and making things right. And if we have that philosophy in our business, it's much easier for it to grow than if we try to push the blame on someone else or pretend like it's the customer's fault. I think we've all dealt with organizations and businesses that you have a problem, and I have one sitting right on my desk right now that I need to contact the company because they had the wrong amount of vitamins in a little individual daily pack. And, you know, some companies would say, oh, that's your own fault. Well, how is it my fault that I didn't get the product that you promised me when you sent it to me? But a lot of businesses do that. A lot of, you know, the bigger the business, it seems the more that happens, the more, well, it's the customer's fault. And if you have that philosophy, unless you've got a monopoly on something, you're going to have a hard time supersizing and growing your business. So, love to know your experience with this particular idiom and expression, passing the buck. Do you believe, not passing the buck stops here. Do you believe in passing the buck or having the responsibility and the accountability at your desk? I'd say as the leader of your organization, it's always a good philosophy to adopt. All right, have an awesome day. Sunday here in my neck of the woods, but if I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how might you use it to supersize and grow your business right now?